like that guy you had on yesterday. It's cool.
Hello, welcome to the slow-talking, honest wargamer. I'm your host, Rob, and I'm joined by Mr. Adam Mumford in the show. Hello, Adam, how are you?
Nah.
No. No, he's not.
I'm great.
Fine.
You?
I won't enunciate myself slowly, and instead I will talk.
I prefer people that you have on that talk better than you. You know, like
who? Swedish people.
Yeah, literally. That guy yesterday, he enunciated way better than you.
Way better.
So,
way better.
I could actually, I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Bobbin, Face and Bases, Draconda, Scott B, Chris CB, Joe PLC. What up, Colonel Cabbage? Me and Adam today. I'm going to be catching up with Adam. I just want to see how he is generally. I might just do a bit of a catch up with you guys as well. Podcast bros, fire up the water shotgun and fire it right into your face. Full of water.
Weird. All right.
Yeah, it got
Jesus.
weird. Yeah, get that water in your eyeballs. Big love to you, and thank you to everyone on Patreon. Today, me and Adam are going to be talking about the team compositions from the Age of Sigmar Worlds TTS event. It's a bit confusing now because I now know of at least 3 Age of Sigmar Worlds team events, so I'm a bit confused. There's one in Sweden where it's just a person represents a country. So it's, yeah. So like, I think my friend John was Mexico last year. So that's...
Then I want to be Mexico.
Then you got the TTS
Might be Luxembourg.
Worlds. You could be Luxembourg, definitely. McLeod, thank you for resubscribing. Then there's the TTS Worlds, and then there's Age of Sigmar World Team Championships in real life. So,
just got to connect the dots. Maybe it's all like a big conspiracy theory to throw us all off.
Maybe it's just, it's just a lockdown and everyone's got super weird. So we're going to do that. But before we talk about any of it, Dave Fraser, can I be Antarctica? You can, because you're cool as ice.
That's better.
Cool as shit.
I want to be Antarctica. No, I've called it now. Sorry.
Hey, Connigget. Hope you're well. Tom Dix, thanks for being here. Adam, my love.
Yes.
How you been? What you been up to?
Yeah, I've been alright. I've been getting angry at 3D printers because apparently they just like to break every so often, and then they take you millions of hours to fix. And then when you realise what the problem is, you're like, why didn't I try that first? That was the main thing. But I've been painting Liberators.
You've been painting Liberators?
Yeah, and I've got a Griffhound on the table now because they're cool.
Okay. All right. How many Griffhounds are in your list?
8.
8 Griffhounds?
8 Griffhounds? You have to take 6 for the battalion, and then I got 2 from the little dudes. So, yeah. So I've got a fair few Griffhounds that are just going to walk around causing trouble. So
are you planning on doing the Liberator list as as a real life army?
Yeah, man. I've got it. I've got all 60 Liberators, which are on my, I want to say painting place, but it's just on the floor next to the printer. I'd love to say I've got a designated area, but yeah, it's on the floor next to my printer where I sit huddled over going, why?
Again, Adam, with that fantastic green screen background of a student's flat. Yeah.
Yep, this is definitely not how I live. And if anyone thinks that students have money, I can tell you we don't. On that note, if anyone wants to buy my Warhammer, I'm broke, so please message me.
Is that because you own loads of Liberators? Is that what we're talking about?
No, it's because I bought a 3D printer because I have no impulse control.
Who does? Who does
Yeah.
in the world of wargaming? Who has impulse control? What really impresses me when people see like a new model come out and they're like, yeah, I photoshopped the colours I want on it, and it's not what I want. Yeah, so I won't buy it. And then the other guy's like, I bought it all! You're like, oh.
That's me. Yeah, like I listened to Darren's List Diary show with the Liberators, and an hour later I'd bought the whole army.
You bought the whole army?
With no, question. It was just like, boop, bye. There we go.
James, after Monday's show where we talked about the Zinch lists, James keeps messaging me saying, I keep looking at ways to create Spawn and also Spawn. And I'm like, number one, don't buy Spawn. General Beef, thank you for resubscribing. Big love to you.
He messaged me the other day because I'm selling my Zinch, and he was like, can I have like all 12 flamers? And I was like, no. No, you can't just have the flamers. Yeah. So.
Forgive it, the chat has said, I just bought a Nurgle army on impulse today. What did you buy? That's quite interesting.
Nurgle's a great army to buy on impulse. That was my first like proper Age of Sigmar army, and like painting that was just lovely. It was my best painted army.
It's so fascinating when you look at the Nurgle book and then you say to yourself, huh, Blight Kings really are the only thing bringing this thing up to scratch. Really. Like,
Back when plague drones were good, that was what I like.
Yeah,
Those
I liked it
plague
when there was more than just a unit. I think that's good. So Rura says, I'm 3 armies deep in 40k and in AOS, started collecting in 2017. Ooh. Okay. All right. Well, that's,
you like
that's
another
pretty
40k
good.
army? Because I'm selling one. And if you like it, but please message me.
Hey, Chris CB, I'm taking a Zinch spawn list to the VTGT this weekend. Good luck with that, bud.
If you would like more Zinch, please message me. I'm selling a Zinch army. Thank you.
The more Zinch, the better. Please, please.
I've lived on noodles now for a week, so yeah.
I've been 3D printing a ton of stuff as well, actually, at the moment, which is super fun. I've just started on trophies for the events that we're going to hold at the TSN Arena, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
I'm going down the route of 3D printing busts. So, you know, like, so I've got.
I thought you said
really
bus for a second, and I was like, "Why are you 3D printing buses?" Just like, woohoo!
So yeah, I've done a Minotaur head body, which I think looks super cool. And it's on like a little plinth, and then I'm going to either buy some plinths or 3D print some plinths at the minute, and I think that's super fun, and they look great. And I don't know if I just keep them as kind of the grey plastic, or if I spray them and I kind of have like a gold one or a metal one or something like that.
If you spray them, right, just before the event or just before they need to be given out, right, and then give them out while they're still wet.
Yeah, that's the best. That is the strategy I plan on doing. Yeah. Actually, I'll do that. All I want is a bust of Rob's face. Wow, you cannot have that. That'd be like.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
All the things you could do with it.
All right. Anyway, so we talk about what we're here to talk about today, and also Twitch chat. Thanks for being here. Love you loads. We are still, if anyone's interested, Podcast Bros or anyone in the world, still waiting on the application for partner status to come through from Twitch. So we still do need to hit those 100 people a day sort of thing. It's been like me. I was on the phone to Vincey V yesterday, and I was chatting to him, and he asked me how long it's been. It's actually been 8 weeks since we applied, and it's
just meant
it's only meant to take 3. So
maybe that's a good thing.
Is it? I don't think. Like, if I was like, "Hey, Adam, do you want to get a date?" and you were like, "Yeah, I'll get back to you," and then it was like 8 weeks later, you'd be like, "No, I don't think he's interested."
At least they thought about it.
That's true.
You know, it wasn't an impulse decision. Yeah, and as Twitch is owned by Amazon, right?
Twitch is owned by Amazon, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like they're used to doing things really fast, and maybe they're like, you know what, this time we're just gonna like take it slow. Maybe with some companies like that they own, they're just like, look, we've got Amazon Prime, like that's enough on our plate right now. We're just gonna do this. We're just gonna not pay people enough. And
we can't be asked with Rob's Twitch channel. It's too much of this.
It is.
Yeah. But anyway, I appreciate all of you being here. Partner or no partner, who gives a
I want to know who does that. Like, who has that job that's got to go through it, and they're just like, oh my god, why? And like, what type of Twitch accounts they've got to try and work out deserve it? It's like, because they probably get some really weird stuff. Just like, nah, not having that.
Have you seen VTubers? Something I was looking at last night. Do you know what a VTuber is?
I have no idea what that.
Okay, just for everyone at home, because I thought that this would be hilarious. Because the guys from Blood Bowl contacted me about doing some Blood Bowl coverage, and I was like, "What would I do?" And I was like, "It'd be so cool if you could have like, you know, like a big orc guy and a thingy." So a VTuber is someone who uses like facial recognition software to like mirror their face, and then they have like a 3D avatar instead. Sometimes you can have like weird like anime girls, and obviously never go through those people's search history. But what you could also do is you can have.
Why not?
Well, because they're probably awful human beings.
I would like the reason, please. In graphic detail.
Anyway, I thought what would be cool if you were doing Blood Bowl coverage is to like pay someone to do some like good VTube sculpts for your 2 commentators, and you could have like an orc, not an anime girl. Let's be clear, an orc and like an undead guy, and then they would be your like casting team. So it would still be just like, let's say...
Would that be a cool idea, though?
All right, fine.
Would it?
I'll ask you now. Is that a cool idea, Adam? Twitch chat, is that a cool idea? I thought. Do you not think?
I just like, as long as like, maybe we could choose your own, like, because I want to be like a, anime
You could
girl.
do one for each commentator.
See?
Like if you had like regular commentators, you would have regular VTube skins.
You know, when we talk about like yesterday, I said in your chat that the stigma for being a nerd is going away.
Yeah,
that's not going to help.
Fine. I was just thinking how to up the quality of a
regular
production.
person turns it on and is like, "What the fuck is this?"
highly tempted to at least do it once and do a show with Nathan, just so he's confused as shit for an entire show.
I mean, that would be hilarious.
All right, about the chat is on different. They're in different areas.
Big boob orc anime girls.
Yeah, Jog's like, is it big boob orcs? Like, what's the situation here? Can it have an orc anime girl? I think probably of all the Twitch chats in all the land, our Twitch chat is not the right Twitch chat for this to be a suggestion. No. Nathan. That would be brilliant. Is to get a Nathan avatar and just do Nathan things.
This is what I want now. Anyway. Now I just want to see it just to see what it is.
Hello, N.A. Brooks, Max Headroom VTuber. We can do it all. It'll be brilliant. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. Right, so the TTS Worlds event stats. So let me just take you through what we're looking at today. So the lovely fella called Matt Tyrrell set up the 4-man AOS World Championships via TTS. Right? Okay. So teams of 4. Now, you just generally pick to be from a country, I think, is the general scope of it. So again,
I think when it says world, it just means that it's people from all around the world. I don't think it's like a, you choose. I want to be England.
I'm 100% doing the AOS Universal Championship. Like, who doesn't want it? Like, everyone will be like, where are you? I'm like, the Universal Champions, as opposed to the World Champions. The moons! Right, okay, so the format. Adam, you've looked a little bit about the format. What do you think of the format? Or do you want to tell everyone about the format before we get on to what you think?
Yeah, so team composition, your 4-man teams. But there's a bit of a caveat for your lists. Every list has to be from a different Grand Alliance. So because there's 4 of you, you have to have 1 Chaos, 1 Order, 1 Death, and 1 Destruction. Which is, I think the idea of it was to create more list diversity. And in my opinion, it's done the opposite.
Yeah, so you guys may have seen some of this, and I think actually this gets into a whole conversation about events in general over the next 6 months to a year for Age of Sigmar generally. It's a conversation I had yesterday, and a conversation I'm probably going to keep having, actually, as we talk about, like, diversity and also meta representation. Let's talk about what I mean by that. This is super important. Super important. Yeah. Super important. Now, in my opinion, yeah, and if you don't agree with me, truly I don't care.
I don't know what the opinion is, but I'm just going to assume. All right, carry on.
In my opinion, the worst case scenario for a game's health to be in is that we end up with 50% of the field being the same army. Yeah? Right? Like, it feels really weird. It feels wrong, and also, I would like it so that everything has the chance to compete. And if you are going to mess around with how people can play lists and how people can play armies and what's happening on the tabletop, I would argue that you want to be looking at something to push the parameters so that everything can compete, basically. That you get more diversity. Now, some people won't think that that's okay. Some people are like, whatever. Like, we'll just pick the top army and I'll go take it to an event. I don't know, Adam, like, where do you sit on this? And Twitch chat, where do you sit on this? For me, I feel like that diversity, it creates a better game and it's a better environment and it's a better thing for all. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like, list diversity is, I don't want to go to an event and play 5 Seraphon. Like, if I'm going to a 2-day event, I don't want to come up against the same armies over and over again. It's just boring and it's not a challenge. So if I'm playing 5 Seraphon armies, for example, I go, right, my game plan is this. And then next game, oh, look, guess what my game plan is? The same thing again. And it just gets really dull, boring. And yeah, I'd like to be able to play something like, I want to see Siege and Seraphon still. I still want to see those, top armies, those like gross things. But I still want to play against like a Nurgle army that's trying to do like a defense build, or I want to play like a Feck army that's trying to punch me in the face. And like I want to see different play styles as well. So not even necessarily just lists, but different play styles of lists.
Yeah, of course. So, and there's a difference there, right? As Nathan is pointing out in the chat, lovely to see him. The concept that obviously a team list normally bans you from having like different the same list more than once, or sometimes it's the same models more than once. And I think that's good. And I think one of the things that we're seeing in the future, one of the things that we've seen in the past already is in 40k. When Iron Hands was so prevalent, like we did coverage of an event at the time, and it was like, it wasn't which Iron Hands was going. It wasn't if Iron Hands were going to win. It was which, and it was like, so now we're playing Necrons versus Iron Hands. We're going over to Dark Angels versus Iron Hands, and we're Tau versus Iron Hands, and it was like, it was wild.
Great time, great fun.
Yeah, great time for everyone.
Yep.
So for me, that makes the best sort of matchup. And teams can go all sorts of wrong. Let me just read what the guys in the chat are saying here. Liam Jordan says, and also thanks for resubscribing. The game isn't just about the best army, so I can't see 50% of the field being the top 2-3 armies at all. No, I obviously, Liam, I don't. That isn't going to be the case. Well, apart from this setup. What I more mean is that, Iron Hands was like 50% of the field. But yes, the events generally and tournaments generally, and also when you're playing with your mates generally, of course, it's not just a conversation about the best army. Just you and your mate are just rolling some dice. It's not about the best army. When you talk about events, there's a conversation there, I think. Half the reason I love this hobby is seeing so many different cool models and armies from people. Seeing the same list of models at events gets dull quickly, says Tom Dix. I think that's fair. Zip Zap Rap. I want list diversity. 4 players, 4 lists. 2,250 points, 2,000 points, and 1 750. Fuck, that's weird. That's super weird.
Wait, so you could... The pairing's that point. Right, I'm going to put my 2,250 point against your 500 point list, okay?
Pete says, I don't think it would have mattered much removing the Grand Alliance restriction. It would have still just been Seraphon plus Siege, but only with a combination of DOK, IDK, KO, and Lumineth making up the bulk of the rest of the field. Grand Alliance order event. Now, that, of course, is its own thing, because, of course, the game right now is very polarized in, not like super polarized, not as bad as it's been in the past when you had Vanguard Wing, or as bad as when you had Sinesh or DOK, for example, riding high, or Flesh Eater Courts. It's not as well, maybe it's not as bad.
Well, so for that point, like there's I've got like a bit of an argument against that for later on, but essentially like you probably would see less Seraphon and Tzeentch if you had it opened, just because of the counters to other armies. But that's like a whole thing that I've got like a little prepared thingy for later.
Okay.
So I'm gonna like smash this argument later. So I'll go back to that later if that's cool.
That's cool. All right. So 25 teams turn up to this event with 100 players. Right. So I've got the image up now on the screen for you guys to see. So with each one of the members needing to pick a Grand Alliance, if we go over to Chaos, as you can see, 52%, 13 of the armies were Tzeentch. 3 of them being Eternal Conflagration, 3 of them being 5 of them being Host Arcanum, and 5 of them being Host Duplicitus. All very strong. And like, if you listen to Monday's show, you'll have heard like I could probably almost everything I talked about on Monday's show will be in each one of those 13 lists, pretty much. Archeon, Flamers, Horrors, Fate Master, Kairos, Lord of Change. Like
smashed it. Literally looked at the list last night, and yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
smashed it. Yeah. Right, and then you end up with some like outside picks. Slaves to Darkness. You've got Knights of the Empty Throne list, a Host, a Ravagers, and a Cabal list. Knights of the Empty Throne list, obviously, a thing. Nurgle is 4 with Blessed Sons is 3. Are they all Blight Kings?
Yes. Yeah. I'll be honest. can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure all of them are just Blight Kings in a different variation of I'm going to take 2 blocks of 20. Well, I'm going to take 4 blocks of 10, and that's about it. So yeah.
T-Man Cash. The point isn't to bring up whether or not the game is imbalanced. The point is really that the restrictions in the event have caused very polarized list production. Like, I think is the key point. Again, not meant to be critical. It's meant to just be
the idea of this is solid. The theory behind it is it's a really good idea to create that list diversity, and it probably has created diversity to a point, but the issue is what's going to happen is that the counters to armies aren't going to be seen, and that's the issue that I've got with it mainly. And because you have to take X thing, what you're seeing is especially in Chaos already, I have to pick a Chaos army. Which one am I going to pick? Tzeentch. Mm-hmm. And I can't pick, like, if I pick another one, like, I'm going to have a hard time if I come up against the army that's got Tzeentch.
Yeah.
That's the issue with the diversity here.
Agreed. Right, so going into Death, Flesh Eater Courts and OBR are drawn for best representation here. And you got like a nice little spread across these. Like, it's a lot more spread. So you got Mortis Praetorians are 5 of your 9 OBR, with Crematorians being 1. And let me tell you, whoever that Crematorium player is, they must be like so tired from having to carry their balls around with them all day. They must be just exhausted. Because they're so huge. Then a Null Myriad, a Stalion Lord.
That's a great pick. I love that Null Myriad pick.
You like the Null Myriad pick?
Yeah, because they've clearly known we're going to be playing Tzeentch and Seraphon. Both magic armies. Null Myriad has the magic defense, doesn't it?
Yeah, which is genuinely really interesting, right? The ignore. Bay Nothos says, with such a strong bend towards specific order chaos armies, is it possible to build a destruction death army whose sole purpose is to take down Tzeentch or Seraphon? Can you lean into a single meta to your advantage at the moment? So this is when you talk about team lists are specifically, they're either meant to do the thing that they do well or to counter a thing that you compare them into. Like, they're very, very specific, right? Like, and so you can write lists. You're like, this is the OBR list that can best deal with maybe the change host Tzeentch list, and you could try to write that. But in some situations, you just don't have the language and list writing language inside your book to deal with some of the other like fringe problem things that you could put into in some situations. Yeah,
because like teams is really interesting because you can just like say you can do those skew lists. So, like, for example, the 60 Liberator list, first I wanted it as a singles list, and now I've realised actually it's probably a really good teams list. So having a block of 60 Liberators is a good teams list, and that's a skewed list. So you can look at your book and go, right, in singles this wouldn't work, but in teams, because I can potentially go, right, I need to put this up against a magic heavy army, I need to put this up against something that doesn't have a lot of damage output. Like, you can create some really interesting stuff with your books.
Like, even like, I'm going to say it now, Sons of Behemoth could be a good team list.
Yeah. Me and Matt were having that exact conversation yesterday. We were like, if we made a team, what would we have in it? And I was like, I really want to put in Gargants, because actually that's probably a relatively good team army.
I think it's a good team. I think it's a good team list. Like, because some people don't have that DPS check initially.
If you don't have that damage output, you throw Gargants into someone, like, they just can't deal with them, and then they just sit on the objective and do what they want to do.
Yeah, I agree with that massively. So the Flesh Eater Courts, 2 Ballistic Kin, 2 Hollow Morn, 2 Gristle Gore. So like a nice, fair, even spread. But it's a book with, as me and Adam did a show on this previously, it's a book with like one of the least war scrolls available to it. So those sub-factions do some real solid work there. Legions of Grief, 4 Legion of Grief lists?
Yeah, I think this is from because of Pask's Butcher's Tribe.
Yep.
There was, I think, one of the Russian team took a Legion's Grief list, and they've done really well. And I have a feeling people have jumped on that bandwagon and gone, this must be amazing. And I have a feeling they're going to find that it's not actually as good. You've got to be quite a good player.
That's quite hard.
Yeah, that's like Warhammer on hard mode.
So sorry, some of you might be a little bit confused when I'm talking about the pairings, like Lord Valdek has just said in the chat. So let me just be quite clear. You have the 2 teams of 4 pair up against each other, and the way you decide who plays is basically via a card system. So if me and Adam were playing, we'd both put our first defenders in secretly. So we pick one of our 4 armies, we put them in secretly together, face down. Then we'd flip them, and then I'd take 2 of my remaining 3 armies to attack Adam's defender. He'd do 2 against me. Adam would choose one of my 2 attackers to play against his defender. I would choose 2 of his attackers. One of his 2 attackers to play against my defender, and that's how the process will work. And then you go through it one more time, and then so that's how you do your pairing. So that first defender that goes in has to be like able to deal with everything, or it's getting thrown under the bus to get some points out of a match, so that it can potentially all the other matches are good. So you can basically get 3 out of 4 wins by taking a loss.
It sounds super confusing, but as soon as because before I'd actually done pairings, I had no idea how it worked. Like genuinely no idea. I was like, every time someone explained it, I was like, what? What do you mean? And then we did the Super Series. I was like, I get it. I got this.
And it's really fun. If you guys want like some complex,
it is awesome.
Yeah, if you guys want some complex breakdown of how you can do pairings, and in the 40k setting, we do a show on that on Sunday nights at 7:30, which is really cool with Tom and Neil talking about WTC. But yeah, that's a really important point, because when you have, so you sometimes will write a list, so it's also going to be a defender as well. Anyway, right. So moving on to order, which really is. Because so one of the things also to discuss at the moment is Order are like riding high. They've got some of the best performing armies in the game, all in their Grand Alliance. So Seraphon, the best performing army. Daughters of Cain, right up there as well. Deepkin above, I think, Daughters of Cain. There's a conversation about that, but generally at the moment. So those three, and Tzeentch probably in like a top 4 of their own.
I think the reason Order are probably the best. Like Grand Alliance is first, they've got the most armies, and second, they've probably got the most design space available to Order armies. So destruction armies are fight, death armies survive, res, chaos armies are probably about the same, but they're generally to do with like their gods are specific, if that makes sense, and they've only got like 4 or 6 real armies. Whereas Order, you've got this scope to do anything they want, which is why you'll see more Order armies and like lots of different like top tier builds, I think.
Sorry, Lord Valdak. So yeah, the matches, I didn't explain that. So then the matches are 1v1. So you do the pairing process to produce 4 1v1 matches, and then the team who gets the best overall score from all those 1v1 matches, they're the winner. That's how it works.
Team's best format ever. It's great.
Teams is the best format, like we all think. So Draconda says, I have to admit, seeing such little diversity in the list here, this kind of event would not be for me. When I go to an event, I like to see the range of different armies. Now, it's the restrictions that I think have caused some of this, although all you would have actually seen, like Pete said earlier in the chat, you would have just seen more Order armies at this event and a lot less destruction and death. So it's done a good job in making there be more representation in destruction and death, but they're just...
So the point that I think... The thing is, what he's done is created list diversity to an extent. But again, so you're going to see more destruction. But the issue is, those destruction armies are probably going to be rubbish. Because there's going to be nothing... They can't be paired into Seraphon or Tzeentch, because they lose. So every team, they're just going to get thrown under the bus. Thrown under the bus. Thrown under the bus. Whereas if it had been opened up, and you had, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that they're good into. Even Lumineth. So Lumineth, destruction into Lumineth. Because they can just go and smash what little stuff they have. You can say, okay, that team has got Seraphon, Lumineth, KO, and Fire Slayers. Like, so all Order armies. But now my destruction army has a chance to do something.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. So, like, even though you might see less destruction, those destructions have a chance.
Yeah, no, that makes absolutely loads of sense.
I hope that makes sense.
And I agree also what I agree what Mandoli says. The benefit of the most highly tuned list playing against other similar lists, instead of the variety, you get an emphasis on tactical play, as opposed to the stronger armies just kicking the fuck out of the weaker armies, right? But that's not to say that every destruction army will lose to every Order army. Clearly, that's not what's being said. We're saying that they generally based on event results. I know we're a narrative channel and we don't like data, but generally they tend to not do as well. So like averagely, let's put it that way.
Yeah, but like destruction, just because we know in this meta that's been created, there's 13 Seraphon lists and there's 13 Zinch lists. Destruction are going to have a real hard time trying to pair into 26 armies like that.
Yeah, agreed.
Whereas if it was opened a bit more, you'd see maybe, even though you'd still probably see, you potentially see the same Seraphon, but you'd also see things that they have there'd be things that they have more of a chance against, because people would go, right, I need to counter Seraphon. How do I counter Seraphon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas with this, it stops that.
Yeah, or as Owen's talking about, so there is a teams event, TTS event that's happening at the minute called the Butcher's Tribe. And like Owen was just talking about there, like there's a lot of OBR mirror matches that are occurring at the event because everyone's trying to dodge catapults. For example, Gits into OBR is a real hard counter to Gits because those catapults are awful to Gits for so many ways. Like they're really, really tough. So there's an entire conversation about that. And do you throw your Gits in to lose versus the OBR to take the OBR out? The OBR aren't even really the big threat ultimately. The Seraphon and the Zinch are the big threat. Like, so you're not really even taking out one of the big hitters out of the pool of armies to play. So yeah, interesting. So let me just go through it. So Seraphon, 50%, 52% of the factions. So you've got 8 Fangs of Sotek, 2 Thunder Lizard, and 3. What's DT again?
Dracothian's Tail.
Dracothian's Tail. Thank you very much. Oh, Chris, thank you very much for subscribing. Serpator6 in the chat. Serpator in the chat, by the way, has just started doing some painting streams. If anyone wants to go and hang out with him while he paints, he's trying to use it to get motivated and get his like hobby mojo back. So I super appreciate that. So go check him out. Deepkin only 3. See what's so interesting? See Deepkin 3 armies only. Cities 2. Daughters of Cain 4 of the. So they're the second most popular order army. Daughters of Cain. With there being a full split. So there's 1 Dry Chiganeth, there's 1 Keltnar, there's 1 Calibron, and there's 1 Hagnar list. So a nice little spread. And then the Fire Slayers have obviously got their little Hermdar list in there.
Yeah, I saw the Fire Slayers list, and I didn't even need to look at the sub-faction before I started writing Hermdar.
Fire Slayers, Hermdar. It's like, so we're doing this. I'm really enjoying the shows that we're doing on the Monday at the minute, right? Like, I'm excited about them now. Like, we did the Zinch one on Monday, and I really enjoyed it. And then we're doing Ogres on Monday this coming. Yeah? And I was like, and I said to Nathan, and Nathan's like, what do I need to know?
If anyone wants to buy an Ogre army, please let me know.
Nathan and James were like, what do we need? I was like, okay, you need to read Boulderhead and Blood Gullet. I haven't even looked at the instruction yet. Boulderhead and Blood Gullet. You need to read the Stonehorn War Scroll and the Mournfang War Scroll and the Yulbad Battalion. And they were like, what about anything else? I was like, no. Not unless you're a man called Stuart. Otherwise, no.
Oh, you might want a Butcher. Did you say Butcher?
Yeah, Butcher. Yeah, you can look at the Butcher
thrown in.
Scroll.
He gets thrown in. Yeah. There you
go. A Rehan Kruger, if you message, if you email the honestwargamer@gmail.com, email that, and then I'll get back to you
with all your Git picks.
Yeah, with all your Git picks, please do. Anyway, so moving on to Ogres, what have we got? 10.
10 Ogres.
10 Ogres. Yeah.
They're nearly as strong as Seraphon, clearly.
So strong. 40% of the whole book, and 4 of them are Blood Gullet, 4 of them are Boulderhead, 1...
one guy has gone, hey lads, I'm going to take Thunderbellies. And his team's like, no, don't do it. And he's like, I'm doing it. I don't care what you say.
Don't you dare mess with me. Have you looked through these lists? Is there anything outlandish?
There's one that doesn't have a sub-faction.
Jesus Christ.
So there's one guy that's gone, nah mate, I'm not taking the sub-faction. Do you want to know his list?
Yeah, I do.
All the Frost Sabers.
Oh god, with a hunter?
Yeah. Okay. That's it. Okay. And I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. You do you, Bo.
Now, the interesting thing about the Destruction book is actually, if you took the Uruk War Clans book and you broke it out, which it has done here, Iron Jaws, Big War, and Bone Splitters, actually, they're 5 Iron Jaws, 5 Big War, and 1 Bone Splitter. So actually 11. So that book is the most represented book. But it's obviously split up into this kind of 3
Yeah, I prefer, anytime I see them, I split them up because that they are three completely different armies.
Yeah,
So
agreed. Yeah, like, yeah, I think you split them up ultimately. Right. So as you can, so like, and then there's the Iron Jaws are split between Bloodtooths and Iron Suns.
the
Gits are
Bloodtooth lists are cool.
okay. All right.
Yeah,
Let's do
they've gone for the you know, at Super Series they did the Bruces had the Bloodtooth list with 30-yard boys.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of the Bloodtooth lists are that, but with like 25, maybe 30-yard boys that they're just going to teleport and go, deal with me.
And then if I die 4+, I'm coming back.
Yeah, pretty much.
Amazing.
Love it.
Amazing.
Good for
That's
teams.
good. Okay. All right. Nice. That's super cool. So like overall, there's a real like good conversation here in that like the restriction hasn't created a lot of variety, it seems. But then I guess the real conversation is what would the game really look like if you took this away? Like if you were building a team, you'd put like Seraphon in, maybe you put Fire Slayers in, maybe you put Deepkin in, and you could easily put KO or Lumineth in. So you could quite comfortably like choose out of order, I think, without ever needing to add anything else in. So Adam, have you got? I know you got some thoughts on this. What are your thoughts?
So I'm not a fan of this format, but that's why I haven't entered the format, because you know if you don't like a format, just don't enter it. That's the best thing to do, right? The issue that I've got with the 4 having to take 1 from each Grand Alliance is that when you have something like Seraphon, what do I counter Seraphon with? And in my opinion, most of the Seraphon counters are within order.
Okay.
So like KO, like you mass shooting, I can take out your characters. There's like Deepkin potentially are a good into Seraphon. So when you take out all my list has 1 order army, I'm gonna take Seraphon because I know Seraphon can deal with Seraphon.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. So
it does.
What you'll end up, I think, even in the pairings, you're going to see, right, I want to get my Seraphon into their Seraphon. And you're just going to, that's what you have.
It's just a non-game.
Because I don't want my destruction into there. If I put my destruction in there, I auto lose. And that goes the same with the Chaos. If I've got my Tzeentch list, if I'm looking at that, I'm going, right, I know I'm playing Tzeentch. What counters Tzeentch? In order, where do I look in order to counter Tzeentch? Right, Lumineth is probably a good pick against Tzeentch. As we saw like in the match with Steve and Matt the other day. Like that played really, really well, right? And Lumineth did well into that list. But you look at those things and you're like, where do I now pull my counter from? Because do I pull it from Death? Not really. Like what is Death doing to counter Tzeentch and Seraphon? Not a lot. Destruction, can I counter from there? No. So now you've got 2 armies that you're going, what do I do with? If you opened it up, you'd still see destruction and death armies, because now I'm thinking about those people that are countering Seraphon and Tzeentch. I can counter with a death and a destruction army. So my death, I want something really tanky. So I'm going to build like 80 Mortek Guard that just walk forward and do their thing. And it opens, when you have everything opened, you're going to look at saying, right, I'm going to counter this with this, but then I'm going to use my destruction army to try and do something there, or I can use my destruction and my death army as attackers for the whatever defender they've put out. So I think that's like you open it up more, but you probably see less destruction and death, but you'll see more overall armies, which is more diverse.
Yes. Yeah. I think that there are ways to create like more diversity, but ultimately some of those armies just play differently. I think if you allow everything to be out on the table, you actually go, right, Seraphon's in my list, and I'd put DOK in my list all day. I think that they're like 11 out of 10. I think they're as busted as Seraphon, not Daughters of Cain, sorry, Deepkin. I know Deepkin. I think they're 100% at Seraphon level. Like 100%. You just have to.
That's where my argument falls down a little bit, because you then go, all right, I'm going to take Seraphon Deepkin.
Yeah.
Like, so that is where this has created more list diversity, which is cool. Like, but I just think you because of how it's done, you go, order, right, I'm taking Seraphon. Chaos, right, I'm taking Tzeentch. Death, okay, I'm taking OBR. Destruction, Destruction is probably the only tricky one. But then it's between orcs or ogres.
Well, I don't know. Flesh Eater Courts is still incredibly good. Like, there's so much output in Flesh Eater Courts. They definitely beat that conversation we were talking about with, like, the DPS check. I mean, ultimately, though, like, this whole conversation is thank you to Matt Turrell for, like, setting it up, and also for the teams playing in the event. Like,
the idea in theory, is a good idea. I just don't personally think it's worked in practice.
Agreed.
And people can like disagree with that. Like, that's fine. You know, I disagree with this format. You can disagree with me. That's all good.
Yeah. I think one of the things that we can see in the future, ultimately, is we're going to have lots of team events that are being set up. Like here in the UK, we have Blood Tithe coming up. And I think that's and seeing how the formatting is going to be done for that is going to be interesting. I think when if you look at something like 6-man ETC or 8-man WTC format, you generally, when it's 8-man or 6-man, you have to have diversity because there's so much in there. You allow for it, but like probably practically in like your local environment, 4-man teams is probably feels like it's the most like 3 feels weird. I want to quote my friend Mark Wilson. He said 3 is weird because it's just like 2 of you are mates and then there's like the third wheel. I was like, yeah, probably like psychologically 3s is weird, but 4s make loads of sense. I think 4s are good, and you're probably going to see this format a lot. And what can we do as a community, having had this conversation in the future, to do this like better? Better's not. I'm not trying to say it was
different.
Done badly. But
so like do something that will, because it's really good that it's been done, because like now we've got data to show. We've actually got some data to show what has happened when you do this. And then if someone now does like an event that's open, we can look at that data and show what diversity has been created in different things. So actually, you can even look at this. This is really, because potentially, I could 100% be wrong. And then when we get like a 4-man event that's opened, we could see 25 Seraphon players. So I could be completely wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know for a fact. This is all.
I think you should only be allowed to take one of each faction. I think that's the obvious like start off for a team's format. Now, obviously, I've actually been through this conversation actually over the past few years. So, like, it's nice seeing the problem rear its head again for me because, like, not to toot my own horn, of course, but of course I'm a genius. The Super Series format is intentionally designed because, as being pointed out by Pete in the chat and also by Owen, really what you have and what we will always most likely have is an imbalanced game from the game producer. That's what we will have. Like, I think it's very unlikely to say that we won't have these, because there hasn't been a situation where we haven't had this obnoxiously over-the-top couple of armies for some reason. There just hasn't been an example of that. Like, there hasn't been a time where that's not been true. So we always know, like, or we should at least assume the game is going to be imbalanced in some way. So we come up with a system to deal with that imbalance. So that's why I created the Super Series, because then it allows you to do like a ban format. Like, and then I thought that was super fun, because then, yeah, you could definitely still run Seraphon if you ban, let's pick a Skink Priest. I still think you can run Seraphon probably just as well. Just as well.
Seraphon is probably the exception to your bans as well, because they've got so many War Scrolls. Like when when we did the Super Series, so when we were talking in our chat about what to ban, it was like, right, what do we ban for Seraphon? And we had a Seraphon player in our team, and we were like, right, what do we ban? Because we want to ban something. And we banned Salamanders as an offensive ban, but it was also defensive, so they couldn't ban our Skink Priest.
Yeah.
But like, Salamanders is probably one of the best War Scrolls in it, but it didn't matter that we banned it because we could still make a really good list.
You still can. Whereas I think you can. I think you can neuter most of the other armies. Like you can neuter Deepkin in the ban phase. Daughters of Cain you could definitely neuter in a load of ways. Like Lumineth, I think you can neuter. KO, I think you can neuter. You could just ban out the Ironclad straight off, and I think they're
OBR, Mortek Crawler.
Yeah, OBR Crawler being gone, I think, is important. Now, I'm not like banging on, because I know not everyone in the world is going to be playing Super Series events. Not yet. One day, we'll do that. We hope. But what can we do in like the immediate? Seraphon is so wild that even Super Series banning can't probably bring them in, because probably Skink Priests are the main issue. Not Skink Priests. Skinks are probably the issue, really, with Seraphon. And so the ban phase can't hit them because it doesn't do battle line. But what could you do at a bigger event? Let's say you're going to run like a national teams event. What could you do to make it more diverse?
Someone in the chat, I think it was the guy that ran all those Blade Geists. He was in the chat earlier. Yeah, that's it. So he was chatting about doing like there was a format ages ago where you rank armies in like a tier system and they cost points. Mm-hmm. And you sort of do your team like maybe like a fantasy football thing. So you get X amount of points to spend, and your team has to so like you buy an army with your points. So like let's say, I don't know, Seraphon. Let's say you get 50 points, but Seraphon costs you 25. And then you may have to start taking things like Sylvaneth and Beasts of Chaos to like build the rest of the team up.
Oh, I get it. That's fun. So like your team is like each army is given like an amount that it's worth, and then you buy it. That's fun. That's a really cool system. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's super cool. I like the idea also.
Like if you pay for Seraphon, you've got to you've probably got to take Sylvaneth or like Beast of Chaos.
I would say that one of the things I like the idea of doing team events inside a format that's just a Grand Alliance. So this is an Order team event, and then you're like, this is a Chaos team event, and this is a Death team event, and then you put those restrictions in that each one of your team members can only pick one army from each faction as well. And then you would just have and you could theme the story around it, that you could have a competitive event where, so like, when you say it's just an Order team event, feel like, oh, but I'm a Destruction player. Like, cool, there'll be one for you too. This is just this one for this. Like, I feel like we try so hard as a community for everyone to be allowed to be involved all the time. But what that really does is that pushes everyone out.
Like, I think we should start looking at people. So we should be getting profiles about people and debating what armies they play and just banning people. Like, if you own Seraphon, no. If you've like got Seraphon and Tzeentch, you like extra no. Like, and you would just start like profiling people about what armies they play.
I think there's loads of names for that, Adam, and we should not go down that line of.
No. We always talk about inclusivity, but as Owen said, we need more exclusivity.
More exclusivity, I agree. Yeah. You're a bad could you do something similar for singles events? We're talking about comp, and I think trying to be creative other than like doing comp stuff. So we're going to go back to a game. This is the other thing as well. Like some fascinating stuff. I was having a very, very long conversation with a couple of friends yesterday about terrain. Yeah, I was having a long conversation about terrain. And so at the Super Series, for instance, in the event pack, you can't. There's no. To quote Vince, if it can't fit, it can't sit. So no modelly wobble, no wobbly model syndrome. I just have all terrain impassable. I'm just like, sweet. Like, because like it creates an amazing setup. So if you have two objectives, let's say focal points, opposite each other, you just put something in the middle, bam. And it's like, you have to go around that now. Already creates, like, are you flanking or are you going through the middle, which is already going to be choked up because that's where the battle's happening already. Like, it already allows for some great mechanical play. Like, it's super fascinating. Like, there's loads. Like, we never talk about map design in Age of Sigmar, and I'm going to do a whole show on it. I'm very excited. I think it's like a thrilling subject, and I think that is something you could do. Not only to produce more fun games, super important to me, making more fun games for everyone, more fun games, but also more interactive games. I think you can do that. The
terrain will comp armies, which is what you want to see. So, like, if you had impactful terrain, it's going to comp certain armies. So, like, if you've got, like you talk about in the Sunday show with the 40k guys, they specifically put armies on certain boards because if they don't put it on that board, it won't work.
Yeah.
And if you have that in Age of Sigmar, so you have, especially in teams, if you have boards that are like, this one is ridiculously heavy on terrain, some armies just won't work anymore. And that is good, because it means that like my opponent now in the pairings process has to go, I know they can't put that army there, so I know they're going to have to put it later on. So then they can use that in the pairings as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like, understanding the maps, understanding the play style, like, I think there's loads to break down. And so Arepa said, I'm going to do a whole show on that. I'm going to do that next week. So if you guys want to tune in for that, I'll let you know ahead of time which day it's going to be. Probably Wednesday, so a week today. Should any terrain give cover in your opinion? I had a long chat with Vince about this yesterday, actually. I don't really see why. Like, I get it, like, because you're greedy. You're like, I want to put my little character in cover. And I'm like, all right, I don't care. What they should be is area terrain, or like in 40k, let's say 9 inches by 5 inches. I think that's quite like nice actually, if you do the math, right? 9 inches by 5 inches, and then that is just line of sight blocking. And like in 40k it's obscuring. In Age of Sigmar it's just line of sight blocking. And let's say like 10 wounds or more, then it's not obscured. The fly keyword's got fuck all to do with it.
Who is it? Owen. So Owen's maps for Hammer Time. He started doing, so he puts the terrain down, so everyone's playing on the same terrain, right? But also he's started doing on the actual terrain, he started putting the magical terrain bits and pieces. But a TO can take those bits, the ones that they want, and you get rid of like arcane, you get rid of commanding, you get rid of all the stupid ones, but you just start taking things like overgrown. So overgrown is this terrain pieces blocked line of sight. So now you have this massive, I don't know, woods or whatever that just says, right, it's overgrown. And it blocks line of sight.
Woods. Like it could just be a hill. It could be anything.
But that's what I mean. Like you do like any piece of terrain that's large. You say the TO just says like puts a token next to it and says, yeah, that's overgrown.
Yeah.
Or you have one that says, I don't know, you've got the entangling one. So say you don't want all these alpha armies just going straight in. You can have just a load of entangling in the middle.
Yeah. Like a War Master. Yeah, War Master wants to say that you can block your opponents in the deployment zone if you make all terrain deployable because of the boats. Obviously, number one, like hard and fast comp, which I think everyone in the world is super okay with, apart from Deepkin players. But honestly, and I mean this from the depth of my heart, fuck off. Is you're allowed one boat, and it cannot it must be deployed in your territory. End conversation. Like
I disagree.
Yeah, of course you do.
As an owner of 2 boats, I really enjoy blocking people with my boats. Especially, what was that mission that had the 2 little deployment zones? Last year, and you literally like you look at your opponent dead in the eye and be like, "I'm putting my 2 boats here."
No, just flat out.
You can't deploy here now.
Someone's like, "I don't like your event. You've said that I'm only allowed 1 boat and I can't block my opponent in." And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, I feel like that's unfair." And I'm like, "I literally do not care unfair. How you feel about that."
I don't care. At my events, you can have 4 boats.
Yeah, like, 8 boats. Like, honestly, who thinks that's okay? Who honestly think that's okay? Who honestly turns up to a table, puts 2 boats in front of their opponent and be like, this is honestly okay? Like, I feel like I would fight on a mat about this issue. You're an idiot. Like, I'm just gonna out all day. Like, who thinks it? Who thinks that this is an okay thing to do? Like, ever?
Because I do it all the time. Especially, you know, in that, remember the triangle deployment? And you can put your boats in a triangle. Yes!
It's insane. It's insane that anyone thinks that's okay. And they're like, yeah, I can't. Like, hey, mate, really nice to meet you. Oh, nice to meet you too. I hope we have a really fun game. Oh, yeah, me too. I hope we have loads of fun. By the way, boats. Yeah? I'm like, why don't you just kick me in the dick instead? Like, it'd save us both time.
See, my issue was the drunker I got, the worse I got with the boats. So, like, normally I'd be like, I'm just going to put them here. And then, like, I get drunk and just be like, right, they're going there. Have it. Like, no. Because the filter so anyway, trying to be nice just goes. But,
so, like, I'd make stuff obscuring because I think that would be really, really important for events. And I think that would produce some diversity. Like, so one of the amazing things that's happened in 40k is what they've done with terrain. Shout out to the WTC organisers for terrain, Ishik specifically. Musaka Koala, thank you for resubscribing. And now, some people around the world think that that's too much terrain, which is a great conversation. Maybe there's too much terrain in WTC boards. Maybe there's too much terrain or not enough terrain in other boards. But importantly, it affects the game quite well. You can genuinely say to yourself, these 10 dudes with a 6-up save in a shooting game probably can survive a few turns. Like, probably can. Like, because they can just hide behind a building. Like, can't see me. I'm not dead.
Well,
like,
unless they've got sentinels.
Well, I know, but sentinels is again throw that conversation. You can't be like, well, throw the whole game in the bin because of one war scroll.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah. But anyway, my point is that if you just did that, the game would change irrevocably. Area terrain, a certain size, and you have 2, maybe 4 pieces of just like that's obscuring, and you're like, if you can draw a line at all, you can't shoot across it. Like, and you've got some pretty fast units. You'll be fine for moving stuff around. But I think that would be so good for the game, and like couldn't
Bliss
like,
Seekers would be even better.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you know it.
Bobbin says, "Fuck the sailors." Pete says, "I played against a Deepkin player once and won the roll-off to place faction train and completely blocked off all the areas I could place my loon shrine, so I couldn't use it. Really fun game. Really good. Really interactive. Really, really positive. Yeah." Warmaster, maybe an idea, a TO course about how to organise a tournament. Okay, Warmaster. It's just things that I would put in the game. And let me talk about why this event is a great conversation for this whole conversation. And that's because, and like it's been really fun, Adam, us talking about this today, is because we're going to get back into events soon.
Yeah.
There's going to be loads, well, you know, next year or so. There's going to be loads of new TOs and young TOs from around the world, right? And like, yeah. Now, one of the things that I do a lot is I watch games of Warhammer being played all the time. And I talk to TOs and I go around the world to different events. Well, that's what I did anyway. And the important point is these problems recur. And some TOs don't get a lot of reps in. For example, Owen has run 7 events. Like, oh no, 8, 9, or whatever it is, with Fat Middle and some other bits. That's a lot of, like, whereas if you do the one Age of Sigmar, like, if you run Adepticon, let's say, I honestly don't know if he does more than Adepticon. If you just dust Adepticon, and next year you're like, well, I'll take those lessons I've learned this year and I'll apply them to next year with potentially a whole different game. Like, whereas if you're doing, like
yeah,
20...
But this is where TTS has been really, really good, because we've been able to try lots of different styles of events. So, like, you've seen Owen did the Fat Middle event. I did the Secret Santa event. We've seen the Butcher's Tribe event with the 3-man teams rather than like 4 or 6. And then you've got this event, which is another thing to try. Like, and that's why it's a good thing, because we can look at events, and because no one's paying for them, no one cares if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. So, like, if you want to try something, you know that you're not going to get any backlash because people are paying 45 quid for a ticket.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, you're not going to have people moaning that are like, oh, I want my money back. Like, you know, whatever. If it doesn't work, don't work.
Yeah, because
you tried it,
and now we know event, right?
What happens? Yeah.
Yeah, you're trying to put on a good event, and you're also, in my opinion, like sometimes fighting against the game to make people have a fun time. Like, you really are. Like, if you do like, right, okay, we want to get like 100 people. There's all these amazing prizes for the people who win, like all this other stuff. You're like, okay, great. And loads of people are like, wow, that's in an amazing venue. The trophy's insane. Like, the prestige is wicked. I want to win it. I'm going to pick my Seraphon army. I'm going to go and I'm going to smash. Yeah? But for the other people who are like, that event looks cool. I want to go, be a part of that. I'm going to run my Gits army. Like, I might just have a terrible time because of the meta, right? Like, probably won't because he's a Gits player. Just have go 0 and 5 and be like, how was your weekend? It's like, probably the best weekend of my life. Had a great time.
We're going to see, like, because of TTS events, I reckon next year events are going to be different to what we're used to. Because literally, like, last year, the year before, when we were doing events, every event felt the same. The only difference was the venue and the food.
Yep.
Like, that was it, really. Whereas now, we might see a lot of variation in events. Like, this event that I go to, they're going to take this bit from one of the TTS events that works. This bit event, I'm going to take something from this that works. And we're going to just get some really, really good, cool events.
Yeah, agreed. Now, talking about cool events, and because we come to the end of the show, I'm just going to announce right now, an exclusive on the Honest Wargamer, the announcement of Hammer Time 8. That's right, Hammer Time 8.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's a online, again, TTS event, and it's 6 games over the course of 2 days. Now, you guys, 100%, there's only 128 slots, and this, I want you guys to get involved, right? I want 128 players at this event. We're doing the live coverage. We're going to be there. We're going to be talking about it. It's going to be super good. The link's going to be in the chat, or link's in the chat now. The link's going to be in the podcast. If you've never tried it before, let's do it. Let's go for it. It's going to be super fun. I'm looking forward to it. So sign up for that. So amazing. Let's go. Let's go.
Do you want another exclusive?
Yeah, go for it.
Cabbage just asked if I'm going to run the Kinder Surprise event at Easter.
Okay.
And yes, I am.
Oh, I don't know
So
what
we're
that is.
gonna
What is that?
So remember I did the Secret Santa?
Yeah.
Kinder Surprise! You don't know what list you're going to get again. It's going to be great, and I'm going to make all the lists.
All right, I'm into that.
That's
That
going to
sounds
be hilarious.
fun. All right, well, Adam, thanks for
There you
doing
go.
this with me today. It's been super fun.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah.
Love it.
So next Wednesday we'll do the terrain. We'll do the terrain chat for you guys, and then eventually maybe I'll formulate all this stuff into kind of like a condensed blog post for some stuff that I think is important. The key point and the key takeaway for everyone, I think, is that the TOs and also us as players, we should be trying to design the best environment for all of us to go play in. Be that like because it's like good food, like good times, good chat, whatever it might be, but also so the games are as fun as we can possibly make them and design. And like the different formats might not be for everyone, but that's good. If you ran a teams event only destruction, that's super cool for all the destruction players. It's not terrible because you don't get to play in it. It's great because you do get to do something cool. More of that in the future is what I'm hoping for, so let's do it. All right, Adam, any shout-outs before we go?
Yes.
Oh, Matt Mallow?
Yeah, let's just go Matt, because he's in the chat. I like Matt. He's a babe. And he gave me most of the ideas for the show anyway, so you probably should have asked him to come on. So I just stole all his stuff and just claimed it as my own. But it's fine.
Love a good Cav Hero moonwalk at the side of the building. No more of that, JP. We're banning that straight off. That's no more of that. Right, you're all great. I want to thank the Twitch chat. Thank you for joining me every day. Podcast guys, thank you for joining me every day. And YouTubers, I really appreciate it. We're still trying to get the numbers high so that we can get the partner thing. I'm a little bit despondent about it at this point, but I'd love you to join me. And also the Sunday, the 21st of this month, so Sunday the 21st of March, is our 1-year Stream Street birthday. 10 hours of special guests and hanging out. It's going to be super fun. We're doing giveaways. Prizes.
Can I win?
We're doing prizes.
I want to win.
So,
what do I win?
We're going to do 3D printed models, which look pretty
Can I have one anyway?
No. Is the answer. Right. You're always our partner. Thanks. You're all great. Love you tons. Have a great day.